blessed with the ability to interact with alien tech. And I want you to join us. Give them a taste of their own medicine.
Well, first of all, this movie's been a fair long time coming. How does it feel for people to finally be able to see it?
A bit surreal, you know. I made it, gosh, almost a year and a half ago, pre-pandemic, you know.
Yeah.
That alone, that time just feels like a world away. But also it is a sci-fi movie, and it is, we're on an alien planet, and we filmed in Lithuania, which I've never been that far east in Europe. So the whole experience just feels like another world to me. So yeah, it's a bit surreal to think this crazy alien movie we made is going to be in people's homes.
And very soon, because it comes out next week.
I know.
Exciting.
Yeah.
And you had this role, a relatively short role in Beyond Skyline. Did you ever expect that you'd be coming back to Rose's character?
No idea. I joined Beyond Skyline after the movie was done. Right. I wasn't in the original script or anything. So when I joined, it was very much an afterthought and inspiration Liam had after testing the film out for a while. And, I got called and I shot for a day, and I didn't see anyone else, any other cast, or, it was a very small crew. And I was like, okay, bye. I, never thought anything would come of it. And then, gosh, I guess 6 months later, Liam emails me, he's like, hey, I have a script.
6 months only, that's pretty quick.
He's pretty quick. The best thing about Liam is he gets inspired. He gets inspired on the fly, and then makes something. He follows his instincts and inspiration.
Pretty cool. And what was it that interested you most about sort of developing Rose's character by coming back for Skylines?
I thought it was an interesting script because Rose goes through about 3 transformations in it. And I found that interesting. I'd been on a television series, The 100, for, I guess, was it 6 years? 6 years now. And, you work on developing your character over such a long period of time. And I hadn't got to, I guess, develop a character that changed that much, that in such a short amount of time. So that interests me of her journey and how she's affected by everything she goes through and where she came from and what she does about it. I found Rose to be very troubled and scared and vulnerable, but then she really finds her true strength when she, becomes her true self. And I love that message. And I think that's something all of us can resonate in. And, I find my most power is when I'm being true to myself.
And it's funny because you posted a while back some behind the scenes videos of you doing stunt training. And one of the videos you captioned, Linda Hamilton, this one's for you, which is cool because Rose does exist in this really amazing lineage of badass sci-fi heroines. So who kind of inspired you developing Rose's character, and who were you thinking about when you were enacting her?
I love Linda Hamilton. I'd say there's a sprinkle of young Linda Hamilton in there, but I drew a lot of inspiration from Sigourney Weaver in the Alien films, and I just loved how strong she was, and not in a never was in a very, I guess, aggressive or masculine way. It was the way she carried herself, and it was the way that she was learning. She was the only smart one in the movie and would learn what not to do or what to do. And I felt for Rose, she can be quiet. She can be quiet because she's observing and she's learning and she's trying new things out and she's pushing herself. And so I really wanted the confidence that Sigourney embodies in those movies to be, I guess, the final Rose we see at the end, the kind of leader that, she evolves to be. So that was my little Sigourney inspo.
Yeah, and quite a reluctant hero as well, which is interesting. It's kind of
Very
by default. Yeah.
Yeah, very reluctant. And I thought that was interesting too, but it gave her such conflict and a lot of internal conflict to play while also battling her deathly illness.
And of course, this is like a really physical role, and you did a lot of stunt training for it. But that's something you've always seemed to have an interest for. So what kind of keeps you coming back to doing so much of your own stunt work?
It was interesting on the 100 because my character started out very athletic and very, in my opinion, very, very physical. You know, she's always using her hands and her body and her mind to kind of like work things out. And then I'm paralyzed, spoiler. And so I lost the use of one of my legs in it. And, you know, I felt really benched a lot in the series and you know, jealous, to be quite honest, of like all the cool stunts, you know, all my friends were doing and, you know, what we did on the show. And, you know, I really felt a lot of empathy and gratitude for my body and like what it can do. And when I discovered martial arts, especially Muay Thai is kind of what I've been most trained in, you know, it really is an art. For so long, I was like, oh, it's, you know, it's a sport. But it's not. It's a very complex dance between like your mind and your body. And, you know, you have to be flexible, but then you have to be strong. You know, you have to be fast, but then you have to hit hard. And then you have to move and dodge and weave and be thinking, but also you're about to get hit in the face. So you have, you know, Bruce Lee and everything, like all his philosophy, I found really fascinating because it's true. You gotta, you know, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, but that's two opposites at the same time. So the intellectual and artistic aspect of martial arts really interested me. And I just kind of fell in love with it. And, you know, I would just do it in my free time. I just really think it's a really cool sport.
And this is arguably your sort of like first big solo lead in a feature film. What kind of challenges and pressures comes from having that kind of responsibility in a project?
A lot. A shit ton. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that was a big reason why I wanted to do it because, you know, I've always been, you know, pretty strong supporting, and I always felt big, you know, and I was really comfortable in being supporting, and I liked being a supporting character on projects because, you know, I felt like it gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of, you know, I didn't have so much pressure on me, and if it failed, it wasn't my fault. So, you know, it was fun. But being a lead, you know, it was a goal of mine, and yeah, I wanted to learn how to handle the pressure and the stress. And the biggest thing I took away from this film was pacing myself. You know, it's like, we kept talking about it like we're running a marathon because, you know, by the end of it, you are. And I remember, you know, we're about 3 months in Lithuania, 2.5 months. And by the last month, we were shooting 6 days a week, and I'm in every single scene. So it just taught me a lot of stamina and how to prepare myself and also how to let go of the pressure. You know, you definitely feel it, but I found the better, you know, I work best when I don't think about it. And I'm just like, you know what, I'm here to create, I'm here to play, I'm here to be creative. Of course, I'm gonna be ready and prepared, but, you know, at the end of the day, it is make-believe. We are having fun. So I'm a perfectionist too. So it was a really good lesson for me in like letting things go and just kind of rolling with it, you know, rolling with the punches, right? And Liam's really great at that. Liam, again, he's the kind of guy that he'll get inspired on the fly. And then he's like, oh, okay, like, well, like writes a scene there while we're on set, or like, doesn't want to do that scene anymore, like scratches that. And I'm like, what? And so, you know, having to really just roll with Liam's creative fire. At first I was like, oh God, I'm not prepared. And then it became just really, really great lesson and experience of like, okay, yeah, let's just have fun and like make stuff. But I make fun of him because I'm like, there's literally 3 other Skyline movies on the editing floor because we just shot so much and just made up stuff and tried things and like new lines there and new scenes and scratched that scene. So there's many more Skyline movies.
So that leads me to my next question, which is, what do you think if you came back to the role of Rose? Like, what do you envision is next for her?
You know, she's at her full Sigourney now. You know what I mean? At peak Sigourney. So
she's just missing the cat.
That's it. So I think it would be cool to really see her step in a leadership role, and you know, and it is. I always like love watching movies. And then they have this like epic ending. And then I'm like, wait, but what happens next? Like, how do you deal with everything that just, you know, transpired? So, you know, you saw so much happening in the fate of the world and the human race and, you know, the harvesters and everyone. So it's like, you know, what happens next? And I feel like Rose, again, whether she wants to or not, she's been born into this position of a liaison and power, and you know, I'd be interested to see what she does with it.
Yeah, and hopefully we do get to see it. I remember Liam saying he was ready for like as many more as anyone wanted.
Liam's on it. He's already been
we've mentioned The 100, which obviously recently finished after a very long 7-season run. What was it like saying goodbye to Raven and to the show after so long?
Again, that was surreal too, you know, and I don't think that really hit me either until I started filming my new project right now. I'm doing a TV show called Walker.
And it's also with the CW.
Yes, yeah. It's the reboot of Texas Walker Ranger. Nice. So, you know, the last 7 years of my life, I've been living in Canada and filming for 6 months out of the year, you know, this post-apocalyptic sci-fi world in the mind of this, you know, pretty much genius girl. And when we were filming the finale, it was right when everything was shutting down for North America, like the pandemic. And so it really felt like The 100. Like, you know, the world's about to explode. We have 10 hours left. We got to get through this. So it wasn't, we didn't have time. We didn't have time really to like say goodbye or cry or like sit in it or really feel the emotions of this is the last dance. It was just like, shoot it and get out because the world's ending. But I would say it hit me when I moved it. I'm in Texas now filming, and you know, we would film The 100 like August to February, August to March. And so I spent every winter in Vancouver and every fall in Vancouver. And I'm from Texas originally, so seeing like snow is very like still a new thing for me. So it just kind of hit me. It's like, wow, this is the first year I'm not going to see snow. This is the first year I'm not going to see the leaves change or be outside in the forest or, you know, see my friends. And it's also, I'm never going to be that girl again. I'm never going to be Raven Reyes again. I'm never going to be that smart and, you know, compelling in the way that she only was. And so, yeah, it hit me when I started filming the new role and being someone else. But, yeah.
And yeah, she was such a groundbreaking character in so many different ways, especially, you know, as a main character in a mainstream TV show. What was it that did you learn anything, especially like spending so much time with her? What were your main takeaways?
So much. She was one of my greatest teachers, and like, you know, I speak of her as if she's a real person, because to me she is, you know.
She might as well be.
Well, it's so interesting, you know, when you put your mind into someone else's mind, even if you make believe it. You know, you really start, you have this, at least for me as an actor, I have a connection, and I feel her very much inside of me. And, you know, if I ever need to, I can whip her out. But, you know, she was, or she is brilliant and genius and so smart and so strong, and always kind of found a way. And, you know, she was my 20s. And in your 20s, at least for me, I felt really lost a lot, and just like, am I doing the right thing? Is this right? I don't know. I feel weird. I'm scared. Is this the right path? And, you know, I would have doubts. And I remember literally thinking to myself, like, okay, what would Raven do? She would say, you know, fuck all that, and let's go, and we got this, and, you know, we'll figure it out. Because that's what she always did. You know, even though she faced so much struggle and strife, she always found a way. So she really taught me just inner strength, true inner strength, that, you know, no matter what happens physically, emotionally, mentally, you can overcome it if you believe in yourself. So I feel a lot of my strength, you know, is entwined with her. And
of course, you other skills you developed over the 100 was you directed an episode in season 7, which yeah, it must have been really cool, especially on the show you'd already spent so much time sort of getting to know. Can we expect more directing from you in the future?
You know, I really, it was crazy, it was wild. But one of the best experiences of my life. It was so rewarding and so creative and so interesting and fulfilling. So yeah, I definitely have plans to direct, and, you know, they're put on hold because of the pandemic. And then, but, you know, and then I went right into filming this new project. But when I have some more free time, you know, I definitely am already talking or spoken to my showrunner about possibly directing on Walker, and also just keep nurturing that interest of mine. And, you know, I definitely want to keep doing it. And I have some things I'm writing that I want to develop. So
that's really cool.
For the future.
Yeah, because writing and directing, that's like a whole new ball game, isn't it? It's quite cool.
Yeah, definitely. But it, you know, it is really fun. You know, like as an actor, you're an instrument in the orchestra and in the symphony. You know what I mean? And you're playing someone else's music, but, you know, you get to put your own twist on it, and you get to really play with it. But like when you're directing or when you're writing, it's like you're really creating the world, and you're really creating the look and the sound. And, you know, it's really interesting making those decisions. So I really enjoyed it. And but it's hard. It is hard. So
all good things are, you know.
Yeah, I have such respect for writers and directors and musicians and actors, but, you know, it's cool.
And you've mentioned this, but is it true that Walker, the CW, approached you to play in it while you were just rapping on the 100?
You have done your research. Yes. Yes.
That's pretty fast turnaround. Like, what convinced you to like jump from one to straight into the other?
You know, I love working. I don't know why. You know what it was? It was interesting. It was like we just began filming the finale, and we had, you know, some of our network execs come and visit our set, and our president was kind of like baiting me with this, like, we have a project for you, and you know, it films in Texas, and but didn't tell me anything more. So I had no idea what it was for months until I heard about it. And then the script came, and it was one of the best scripts I've read in a long time. And my role in it, you know, she's just so dynamic, and it felt very personal to me. A lot of the roles I've played have, like Raven, you know, or Rose, have very strong aspects of me, but they don't quite embody all of me. Like, I'm kind of really goofy and like odd. I'm not super smart, and I'm not always super, disciplined. And so this role came for Mickey, and she's very dynamic. She's very alive. She's very, she's strong, and she's smart, and she's perceptive, and notices everything, and nothing gets by her, but she's funny. And she has a good sense of humor, and she loves adventure, and she's a change maker. She really sees purpose in what she's doing, and wanting to make change, politically and culturally, and kind of bridge the gaps for, people that are at odds, or people that don't understand each other. And, her background, she's Latina, and she's in Texas, and, I grew up there, and, unfortunately, like, as I grew up, I definitely felt racism towards me, or just feeling marginalized, and feeling like, or even just, sexism, because, I'm a woman, I can't do things, or, and it was bullshit. And I remember feeling that way, especially in college, and being like, you know what, I can do whatever I want. And that really pushed me to, like, because I dropped out, really pushed me to just follow my dreams and go for it. And then, so, Mickey's plight, being one of the first women in Texas Ranger history, on the squad, in a very completely male-dominated field, and majority Caucasian, you do feel like you're watched, and you're judged, and you gotta fight these invisible obstacles. And so, it reminded me a lot of, like, what I'd gone through growing up here, or my mother has, my grandmother, my family. So I just thought it was a really important story to tell. And for a long time, I was afraid to tell very personal parts of myself. It just was a little bit harder for me for acting, but now I feel like that's what I want to explore. So I really, Mickey just feels very personal. So it was a really just personal decision.
Yeah. And how much does that inform sort of the projects that you pick in general? Because obviously the 100 Skylines, they're sci-fi worlds where, your characters don't really have to face that kind of sexism or racism. Yeah. This is the first sort of like major project that you've done where those are real realities that are impacting your character. How much does, is that a consideration when you choose your roles?
Yeah, I would say yes. When I was first starting out, if you look at my resume, I played kind of mean girls, or bitchy girls, or, stuck up girls, and funny things, or, I was on a soap opera, I was in General Hospital, and I played Christina, and, she was a brat. She was a, really, she caused a lot of trouble. And she was very selfish. And I was playing these roles, and I just didn't find a lot of depth in them for me. Nothing wrong with the roles, it was just me. And when Raven came across, she was the first role that I was like, oh, doesn't matter if she's a girl or a boy. She could be either. She could be whatever she wants. Doesn't matter what race she is. She can be whatever she wants. She's smart as hell. She's badass. And she has purpose and motivation and drive. And suddenly, the way I looked, my race, my sex, it didn't inform that character. Raven's mind and personality informed the character. And that resonated with me. And I just was like, I'm going to play powerful characters, that it's where I'm not subjugated or boxed in by, like, you gotta be with the guy, and then she gets mad and you have to kiss him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love that she was just about something. And unfortunately, I feel like it's changing now. This was, again, a decade ago, right? And it's changing now. But then, you know, I was 21 back then. And I was like, I want to play a role of substance. And I feel like Raven was on the forefront of us finally seeing really like a plethora of substantial female roles that were complex and interesting and weren't about the way we looked or, you know, were the girlfriend of or accessory to a guy. You know, it was like, I remember I'd get scripts and I'd sometimes cover the names and just read the lines. And I was attracted to so many of the male roles. And I was like, they could just change the name. Or be the same name and have someone else, like a different sex, play it. And it's still a compelling character. And so, you know, I feel like the sad thing is sci-fi allows us to do that more, unfortunately, because that's not the world we live in. And that's not the world it was 10 years ago. Thank God it's changing and there's been substantial change. But I think that's why I was attracted to sci-fi roles for such a long time, because I had freedom. I didn't have to be bounded by things. But that's also what's really interesting about Walker is, you know, I am bounded by limitations of our society. And you see my character work through it and understand it and have to deal with it and like work with it, but also be pissed, but then rein it back in because you know what I mean? So yeah, now I'm interested in playing the complexities of our current world and also hoping that my character can inspire those to change it. Because, you know, in my opinion, she is a change maker. And that's what really resonates with me about her.
And does that ever take its toll? You know, you seem to take on a lot of responsibility in terms of being a Latina actress, you know, with great visibility. Is that ever something that you kind of resent?
It is interesting, you know, it is something, I don't know, you know, it is something I knew kind of going in, but also I didn't really know because I hadn't experienced it, you know? But when I was really figuring out my career, where I was very interested in politics. I was very interested in social work. I did a lot of mentoring of members of the Latino community when I was growing up in Houston. And I did, you know, I was very interested in politics, but politics, unfortunately, is after some experiences I had, it was a very ugly place. It was a lot of fighting and not a lot of change. And that frustrated me. And so, you know, I always really resonated with art because I feel like art has the power to change and inspire and motivate and, you know, expand our minds and create tolerance, you know, if we have accessibility to it. So it seemed like a much more pure way to help the world and to hopefully make change and to hopefully help people, because I get to play characters that inspire them. And, you know, when I was growing up, I felt like I didn't have a lot of role models that inspired me on screen. And I wanted that. I wanted to see that. So there's a big part of me that's like, oh, wow, I can do that. Or I can try to do that at least. And so, again, yeah, it is interesting because then you do bear a lot of responsibility. And, you know, I meet a lot of fans that love Raven so much. And they tell me how much she's helped her. And like, that's all I want. But then also I do feel responsible to, you know, not let them down and to not, you know, not be a disgrace. And I understand how that can be, you know, because we're people and we're not, I'm not perfect by all means. So yeah, there's times where I'm, you know, I'll definitely like get down on myself and I'm like, I'm not, you know, good enough here or doing a good enough job there. Or like, oh gosh, you know, I didn't do my best work here. I'm letting people down. But, you know, I've learned that I had to let that go. And I just have to like, you know what, world, everyone, people who love me, thank you. But I'm totally imperfect, and I'm just trying to do the best I can and, you know, learn as I go through this journey. So it's very interesting. That was a really good question. But yes, it's been a very interesting life.
And you get to explore so much of it with different roles. So that's really cool.